This is an introductory video on the chapter on linear equations in two variables. In previous classes, we've learned how we can form linear equations in a single variable and solve it. Here's a quick recap. Here I have a balance. On one side of the balance, I place 2 apples. On the other side of the balance, I place a 5 kilogram block. On the side of the 2 apples, I also place another 1 kilogram block. Now let's say at this position the balance is balanced, which means the weight on this side is equal to the weight on this side. Now let us represent this situation mathematically. What I can say is 1 kilogram, let's not write the units for now, so 1 plus weight of an apple, because I have an apple on this side, weight of an apple. Now because I have 2 apples, I can simply take this whole term, the weight of an apple, and I can simply multiply that by 2 to get the weight of 2 apples. So the weight of 2 apples plus 1 kilogram, 1, is equal to, so that's the weight on the left side, that is equal to the weight on the right side, which is 5 kilograms. Again, not mentioning the units. So this is a mathematical expression or an equation that represents this situation. Equation because I have an equal to sign there, okay, so that's why this is an equation. Now this is a perfectly fine equation to represent the situation, but each time I write the equation again and again, I'll have to write this whole term, weight of an apple, again and again. Now what I can do is I can simply write a short form for this whole term by just using a single letter for this. Now in mathematics we call such a letter a variable, or rather such a quantity is known as a variable. Why? Because this quantity can vary. The weight of an apple can be anything. It could be half a kilogram, 2 kilograms, it could be anything, right? Different apples have different weights, so that is a variable. Now what I can do is I can perhaps take the letter x to denote the weight of an apple. Now if I write the equation again using the letter x instead of writing this whole thing, I can simply write this equation as 1 plus x times 2, so 2x, x times 2 is 2x, that equals 5. See, this time the whole equation is much simpler to write and deal with. Now I can go ahead and solve the equation. I can subtract 1 from both the sides. I think you've learned that in previous classes. I can subtract 1 from this side and 1 from that side, and the whole equation becomes, well, 1 minus 1 is 1 minus 1 here, plus 2x equals 5 minus 1 is 4. Now 1 minus 1 is simply 0, that term just gets cancelled. Now all I'm left with is 2x equals 4. Now I can divide both sides with 2, and well, these 2's cancel out and I'm left with an x here, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, and that's my answer, x equals 2. But what does this mean, x equals 2? What does that mean? Well, x is nothing but the weight of an apple. So if x is 2, the weight of an apple is 2, which means the weight of this apple right here is 2, and the units were kilograms, so it's 2 kilograms. Of course that is not practical, but yeah, in this situation the weight of an apple is 2 kilograms. Now let us move to a slightly more complicated problem, which is as follows, and see if we can use the same method to solve it. Tommy sells donuts at his bakery. He sells one donut for $2. Tommy has rented out a part of his shop to John, and Tommy receives $4 as rent for the day. This is Tommy's shop, and he sells donuts for a living. He also has another part of his shop, this part, and from this, because he's rented that out to John, he receives $4 as rent for the day. Now our task is to help Tommy calculate the money he has earned in the entire day, which is also his income. So let us write income here. Now we are supposed to find his income. So what is his income equal to? Well, Tommy has two sources of income. One is the rent he receives from the shop, and the other the money he gets by selling donuts. What is the money he gets by through the rent of the shop? Well, that is a fixed amount, that is $4, right? So that does not change much. So that is 4 plus, so 4, I'll not write the units, dollars, 4 plus something else. What is the something else? That is the money he receives by selling donuts. Now, how much money does he receive by selling donuts? Well, that depends on how many donuts he is able to sell in the day. If he sells two donuts, he'll get $4 because a donut gets him $2, right? 2 times 2 is 4. So again, we have a quantity that can change every day, which is the number of donuts. So what do? We assign it a variable. Let's say again we'll stick with the letter x. And what is x? X is the number of donuts sold. Okay. Now I can write that here in the equation, x times 2, because each donut sold gets him $2. So 2 times the number of donuts he sells is the money he earns by selling those donuts, right? Moving ahead, if you look at this term right here, income, is that a fixed quantity? Well, no. Every day his income will change depending on the number of donuts he sells. This income will change. Now, because this will change, it is again a variable, so we assign it a letter here. Let's say y for now. And so income can be represented by the letter y. So y, which is the income, equals 4 plus 2x. Just to make things look a little bit neat, I can write this as y equals 2x plus 4. Just rearranging the terms doesn't make much difference. But yeah, this here is the equation that represents Tommy's situation. And every time Tommy sells a fixed number of donuts, he can plug that value here instead of x and calculate his total income. So yeah, that is how we can form an equation for such a situation.